Get out!
Hello tankers and tankettes, and I'm going to do something a bit different today. I'm going to do a pure straight up review with a bit of gameplay thrown in. So yeah, I'm on the test server and I'm looking at German premium tank destroyers, and no wait, hang on, this is the wrong one. I'm looking at this thing. It's tiny, it's the E-25 and it's the new tier 7 premium. Now bear in mind, the existing premium is tier 8, so it's only one tier lower. So I'm gonna do basically a kind of a comparison. I'm gonna compare it a bit to this thing, and I'm gonna compare it a bit to this thing, which is the other tier 7 premium tank destroyer. And we'll see, it's really quite different from anything else in the game. Now obviously, like I've said, it's tiny, it is minuscule. Compare it to the Jagdpanzer IV, which I've bought specially for comparative purposes. It's even lower profile than that. And yeah, it's maybe not so different in terms of gun choice, but the Jagdpanzer IV at least gets the short 88. But perhaps if you've played the Jagdpanzer IV, Jagdpanzer even, you'll maybe be sort of familiar with how this plays in terms of guns. But in terms of mobility, I think the best thing to compare it to is scout tanks, basically. It's got 700 horsepower, 65 km/h speed limit, 44 traverse speed, which is pretty good. Pretty much, well, I would say no hull armour, but it's not much for tier 7. Now, comparing it to, obviously the Jagdtiger is pretty slow. The 122-44, if you've played that, you'll know it's a reasonably mobile machine. It's based on a medium tank hull, and you can be quite aggressive in it. You could be quite aggressive in this thing as well, except for the fact, well, let's compare the armament of these three things first. Now obviously, comparing it with a tier 8 gun is maybe not that fair. But bear in mind, it's only one tier above. Now what do these things have in common? They've both got very good rate of fire for their tier. The Jagdpanther has... Jagdpanther? The Jagdtiger has got... you know, on paper 11.11 okay, but at tier 8 that's a really good rate of fire. It's got pretty reasonable alpha and a pretty reasonable penetration. Look at the accuracy. And the aim time's good as well. Now, this has got a way better rate of fire, the 75mm gun. But look at the pen and the alpha. Now, yes, it's got better accuracy and aim time, but you're going to struggle. And of course, the SU-122-44 has got 122mm derp gun. 175 pen's not massive, but it's still better than that. Alpha is way better, accuracy less good, aim time less good, but the rate of fire is enough that you can basically play it as an aggressive assault gun. Now, even though this has got the mobility for that, it doesn't have the gun, definitely doesn't have the gun. So you're actually going to be playing it more like the Jagdtiger 8.8. You're going to have to basically get to a spot and try and put shots into people's sides. You're going to have to snipe, which is a pity, because it's not got much armor, but with this amazing mobility, if it had a better alpha and a better penetration even, I think you could do some serious damage with this thing. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, and it's not really like any other tank destroyer. So yeah, it's on the face of it, for 7,000 gold, which is actually more than the SU-122-44, it doesn't seem like that good of a deal. And if it was at tier 6 with this gun, if it was a sibling to the Jagdpanzer IV, rather than coming a tier later, then yeah, okay, you know, that would seem more reasonable. Tier 7 it doesn't seem very well suited for. But bear in mind, this is still the first test server. Wargaming may change some of these numbers. This is, you know, obviously all subject to change. So yeah, let's let's stop looking at stats and start looking at how this thing actually performs on the battlefield. So here we are, actually in a battle, and kind of a surprising matchmaking. It's actually, I would say, completely normal, but it's more normal than I was expecting. This is about 5th or 6th battle I've done in this thing, and in a few of them, unsurprisingly, there have been quite a lot of E-25s. But as you can see, there's only, well, there's still 7 of them, and by 7 I mean 5. I can count you guys. But on the whole, it's pretty variable, pretty mixed. We've got some tier 8s, some tier 8 heavies, tank destroyers, mediums, some other tier 7s. So yeah, and you'll note I'm starting off, I did a couple of matches with almost all premium ammo, and I thought, no, that's not really going to give me what I need to, you know, if we're going to properly evaluate this thing, if I'm just spamming gold ammo, it kind of negates the point. And yes, you can do that, but you're going to lose without premium account. Well, with a premium account, you'll probably break even with a victory. Without, you're going to lose, you know, 10, 15, 20k. So here we go. I'm basically decided to pretend I'm in ELC, and I'm going to use my speed, and I'm going to bank on there being nothing down this flank. Now you can see there's another E-25 here that's had exactly the same idea. And you can see the speed. I mean, it's actually not that much slower than an ELC. And the really low profile means that, like an ELC, you can use bits of terrain for cover that in pretty much any other tank in the game, barring the ELC, you couldn't get away with. So we're just racing down the one line here. There's no one that's come to spot us. You'll spot that there is one blue guy on our team already. It's an ELC that just started shooting friendlies for no reason. He'll die fairly soon. But there you go, there's an enemy ELC, not ELC, E-25 on the field. So I'm going to turn around and completely fail to hit him. I think I can shoot him once, but I'm, yeah, not very successful. So that's more on my part though than the gun itself. That's just me failing to really, you know, compensate, lead the target enough. But as you can see, it's it's not looking too good actually. They're kind of clearing up in town. They've got control of most of the town. At this point I'm thinking, okay, I might be able to use a clip from this one to actually demonstrate the mobility and the speed of this thing, because it's really good. And you can see here I'm using my profile, and the gun depression is actually not too bad. Now, on the other hand, being really low profile, I have to go quite far over, you know, quite far out to actually get a shot on this T69, because these concrete tank traps are actually tall enough to block my shot. So I'm kind of struggling to get into position to actually shoot something here. But here we go. So it's me and the other E-25 shooting at this thing, and I'm thinking against scouts, against light tanks, against mediums, this thing could be quite effective. And I think it's possibly going to be like the TOG. You basically find someone else, you know, who is a player that you can play well with, and you platoon with them, because I was working pretty well with this other E-25, despite the fact that we almost certainly don't speak the same language. Between you, the DPM and if you get a medium or a light, or even a suitably squashy tank destroyer on in your sights, you can really go to town on them. But having said that, well, there's definitely an element of luck how this game turns out. But yeah, it looks like we're going to fail horribly at this point. So there we go, that's one of the new British arties. You can see here the rate of fire. I mean, if you get against a target you can hurt, you really can hurt them. I mean, you can... we cannot... I mean, okay, yes, the alpha sucks, the penetration kind of sucks, but the rate of fire on this thing and the profile, they're kind of the saving grace, but the situations when you're going to get to use them are sort of few and far between. So, I've sort of thought to myself, right, if I can pull this off, wow. And, you know, I'm low enough profile, actually, that my camo value is going to be good enough, and I've got painted camo, and I've got a camo net, so I'm thinking to myself, I might actually just be able to hide here. But of course, the enemy team, they're not going to let that pass. They come back, they know we're capping. Well, obviously they know we're capping. So, I think, okay. Now, I've actually got a crew here with 6th sense, so no, I'm not actually spotted. I'm just plugging away. This guy is, what, 230 meters away? There we go, just got lit up. But they had to get reasonably close to actually detect me. Now, this here, the E-25, he does... Now, I want to note the terrain here. Look, just this slight rise is enough to hide me. So, yes, it's definitely got that going for it. But this other ELC, I keep saying ELC because, you know, it's tiny like an ELC. This other E-25 does actually quite a good job. He keeps them off the cap, so I can basically, you know, finish capping and get an invader medal. And hey, surprise ELC! But I think he must have fired and missed, because I didn't notice him until I'd scoped out, and of course with his reload time. And you can see there the traverse speed on this thing as well. Now, watch this, I'm using an ELC corpse as cover. How many other tanks in the game can use an ELC corpse as cover? I think the answer is probably 0. So yeah, there's the two of us, we've got one friendly arty left, they're coming back to try and decap. And suddenly I'm thinking, maybe we can actually pull this off. Now, this was completely unexpected, and I'm thinking, I just... Okay, games like this are going to be infrequent, but this is absolutely the strength of this tank. It's incredibly low profile, and its rate of fire, but it's this stealthiness, I think basically, yeah, treat it like an ELC, treat it like a light tank, and don't really think of it as being a tank destroyer. I think that's the way to play this thing. So there we go, I was saved by an ELC corpse. The IS-6 couldn't actually shoot me because there was an ELC corpse in the way. We all know how tiny that tank is. So, yeah, what are my conclusions about this thing? I still think, I think Tier 7, no, I don't think it really works as Tier 7. Yes, okay, that was a good match, but I got lucky. I was presented with soft targets, and against that IS-6, no, there is nothing I could have done. If I'd got behind him with gold ammo, but even then, I'm, what, 2 shot kill for an IS-6? 3 if I'm lucky? It's... Yeah, I think it can be really good in certain situations, as you've seen there. I think in a platoon, like, as I said, like the TOG, I think it could work well, because you're doubling up the DPM, and you're you're not having to go in alone somewhere. But yeah, for all its good points, and it does have some good points, I would still say it needs to be Tier 6. It needs to cost less, and if that means a nerf to the rate of fire and maybe a bit of a nerf to the mobility of it, then fine. But either Tier 6, Tier 6 with regular matchmaking, or if it's going to be tier 7, it has to get limited matchmaking, because if this thing is going to come up against tier 9s, that is just not going to work. So yeah, 7,000 gold, if you think you're going to like this thing, you know, maybe it's worth it, but if you're going to spend that amount of gold on a tier 7 tank destroyer, get the SU-1 2244. It's cheaper and it's going to be more fun. This thing is just way too situational, and I think you're gonna hate it more often than you're gonna love it. So yeah, my first review. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment. If you thought I was really good, you could always like or subscribe. Yeah, I will probably do some more of these. Maybe not on the test server, maybe with just tanks in my garage already. But let me know if that's the thing you would like, and let me know if there's particular tanks you'd want me to look at. So yeah, stay tuned for more.